there's no bad speaker in the whole Onyx Studio lineup. There is something for everyone, and a lot of them are quite different from the others. They are treating us like imbeciles. And this, how they put the controls, is diabolical. You said, ow! And I said, what? And you said, show us Uranus. And I said, what are you talking about? And then I realised you meant Saturn, Pluto, Saturn, Pluto and Uranus, I believe, have got rings, and Jupiter, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, we know it as Uranus, laughingly called the speaker that went to the wild side. The Onyx Studio 7 and the Onyx Studio 8 had this weird ring around it. I'm sure it's supposed to look like Saturn, because it seems to be the speaker where they just sit around making drawings and saying, that looks pretty, we'll go with that, they won't care. It's only the Bluetooth speaker crowd. But look, tweeters there, tweeters there. Tweeters not everywhere, we'll get to that in later. Tweeter, woofer, passive, blocking the tweeters, and when you try to stick it in, you'll also have a problem, because not only is that one covering the tweeters, this one covered the USB-C, the mains lead that you stuck in, and indeed the old-fashioned auxiliary input. We never quite understood it, and they said to themselves, they said, Alan keeps saying, doesn't make much sense, why don't we change it yet again? Somebody said, stop doing that, and that just makes me do it more and more and more, because I'm freestyling. I do what I want, because I don't understand it. Some of you just think, we're all multi-millionaires. I lose loads of money on this channel. It's not monetized in any other way other than some Amazon links, blah, blah, blah. We'll get onto it. I don't want to waste too much time as normal, because this is all about the Onyx Studio 9. It came out, I don't know, 18 months ago, and I'm reviewing it now, giving you my opinion on it. So it's very, very strange. The whole series has been strange, but hey, there's no bad series. Spoiler alert, disclaimer, there's no bad speaker in the whole Onyx Studio lineup. There is something for everyone, and a lot of them are quite different from the others. So it's not like, oh, the Onyx Studio, that means that sort of a sound, and that's what I get. No, you've really got to know what you're getting. And it's the same with the Onyx Studio 9. It's going to be another one that confuses us even more. But I'm going to say there's no bad speaker, but there will be speakers that you can get better value elsewhere, and you probably get a better sound elsewhere. But for one reason or another, you may like it. The whole Onyx Studio series has been about a circular lifestyle kind of shape. They don't know, they can't make up their minds what they're doing with this. It's always been a bit like the GoPlay 3. They're going to make sure JBL don't lose sales, so they're going to say it's a portable Bluetooth speaker, but we're going to only give you such a small battery that you're never going to be able to take it out anyway. Oh. So it might as well just be in the mains only, and with some more power, please. But no, that's not what they did. But hey, we have got a significant upgrade on the battery now. 1, 2, 3 were 9.6 watt hours. Now then it was 11.1 watt hours, 11.1 watt hours for the Studio 4. 11.9 for the Studio 5. Apparently, according to my specs, went down again to 11.7 for 6, 7, 8. But now 17.15. Why 17? We've got an idea. I guess, isn't that about the same as the Encore? I don't know. So maybe they think, oh, well, we can go that far. But we'll go no further. It's also SBC, a whole series, SBC codec only. So they can't make up their mind if they want to be the upscale audio, ear-tuned brand, or just a lifestyle brand, or give value speak. They can't make up their mind, and so they keep flip-flopping. Where are we now with the Onyx Studio 9? Just know the big things about the Onyx Studio 9 that really change things now is Auracast. So the Auracast now means, which is obviously the only one in the series that has Auracast, means you can hook it up with JBL Auracast. That alone could be a reason to buy the Onyx Studio 9, and it's pain-free. So for instance, I'm gonna turn on my Onyx Studio 9. Right. And now I've got my JBL Extreme 4, which is, of course, Auracast. All I have to do is press... Well, I've got to turn it on first, of course. I turn on my JBL Extreme 4. It's on. That's playing. I'm going to hit Auracast on my Extreme 4. And I'm going to hit Auracast on my Onyx Studio 9. They're now both playing. Wasn't quite sure. They're now both playing. Absolutely painless. Works seamlessly. And you'll hear the difference if I turn that one off. I don't know why I turned both off. But just to say, that alone may be a feature why you'll want to consider the Onyx Studio 9, even if it's maybe not so good in other aspects that we'll get to. And of course, the battery upgrade. But the other thing they're going to sell it on is it's got 3 tweeters. Why has it got 3 tweeters, Al? Well, 5, 6, 8, and also the 7 is like the 8. 1 tweeter, 2 tweeters, aka stereo, but hey, you've still got the mono woofer. I don't know. It looks like they're selling it on the idea that you'll now get an amazing spread of sound. Do you know why? I guess it was easier to design it to have all 3 tweeters, I don't know, fed by the same amp, or what is it? Whatever. Oh, I smashed my tweeter there. Yeah. All 3 tweeters basically sharing the same area, rather than have one there, spread out, and one in the middle. I guess that's a design reason. So what they had to do is they've got waveguides to throw sound to the side. But we'll get onto that. Does that work? Probably not as well as they had intended. But that's what's going to be different here from some of the past ones. So Auracast, 3 tweeters, the idea being, because a lot of people complain they were quite narrow sounding, but now they're saying they're throwing sound out to the side. The marketing will actually tell you the Studio 9 introduces constant sound field processing, widens the soundstage, which is a big claim, improves room filling dispersion, makes vocals clearer at different listening angles. Yeah, some of the other specs I want to get to later. And it's got self-tuning. That may be a perfect storm. Self-tuning alone is a reason why a lot of people don't want to get these speakers. Got self-tuning on the 8, got self-tuning on the 9, and that means that's a feature you cannot turn off. If you place it in a corner of a room, you're going to get more bass reinforcement out of the speaker. A lot of people love that. If you place it in the middle of an echoey room, you won't get much bass reinforcement at all. Or even outdoors, you'll get no bass reinforcement at all, of course. You may do that for the reason that you actually do want to reinforce the bass. But the self-tuning will fight against that. It's trying to give you a constant sound field. They said it. I'm not making it up. They said it themselves. It wants to give you a constant sound wherever you are. And that means trying to hear what the room's doing and counteracting that so it sounds like, in theory, in a well-treated room. The problem is, it's going to stop you adjusting the sound by placement. Why not? This is, I still don't get it. And it's the same with the Harman Kardon Go Play 3. Why are we not allowed to turn off that feature? It's either going to be because it doesn't do much at all, which is what I found on the 8, but a lot of other people saying it does loads of things with that they don't want it to do, especially on the Go Play 3. But either way, there can be no why. It's only part of the DSP. Why can you not turn off that feature? Is that to me, that's really, really suspicious. I'm going to go straight in and have a look at the problematic with a measurement mic, because talk about interference, talk about diffraction heaven. Look what they've done with the tweeters. So you can see it's breaking up in the measurements. So don't take too much notice at the high end. Just get an overall view of my frequency response measurements.
Volume steps quite linear till you hit 60%, and then compressing up. Not much extra loudness for each volume step. You can see the bass basically compressing from 60%. Very little headroom up to 100%. Very much based around 50 Hertz peak. Bit of a scoop into the upper bass. Don't pay too much attention to the high end. 3 tweeters all on top of each other. Obviously problematic to test, but it does appear a little bit rolled off. And it does appear there is a push in the presence region, 4 to 6 kilohertz. You can see as you got the volume steps, the mid bass is flattening out to allow for a bit more in that 50 hertz region. Overall, a little bit wavy. It's slightly strange presence region. The vocal EQ is going to drop the highs almost entirely. It's going to push the mids. It's going to drop the bass. Energetic is going to push upper bass, lower mids, a tad more mids elsewhere, and a bit of a peak there, 7 kilohertz. But overall, just going louder. It's another one of those, it's fooling you by going louder. EQs, chill mode, the opposite of energetic. It's going quieter. I mean, it's pathetic, really, when you look at it, what they've done. They've given more volume. The only real difference is they've given you a bit of a peak there in the upper bass around the 200 hertz. And the chill mode, they've just reduced the volume and then reduced the highs on top of that as some sort of chill mode. It's extraordinary. We can overlay 5, 6, 8, and on a strict measurement, it looks like the Onyx 9 is up there in terms of the absolute 50 hertz peak, but it's at the cost of the upper bass, mid bass, and the highs. We have to see what that does in the real world. A measurement would suggest absolute headroom goes to Onyx Studio 8, followed by the 9 in terms of the bass, but again at the cost of the mid upper bass. The 9 is going to have weak mids compared to the others, and it's going to have a pushed presence region compared to the others, and it looks like it's going to have a roll-off high, even though it's got 3 tweeters. But we will see. Real-world tracks, DSP and filters in full action can be a different story.
Whatever we say about how frequency response measurements translate into the real world, because these are full of DSP and limiters and self-tuning indeed. There's a big difference between a straightforward sine wave sweep and a sticking on a real world bass boosted track. You know, when it's fighting everything that's already inside that speaker, though can be with these type of speakers very, very different. So we should, just to say, the other thing that may sell it, although they already had an app on the Onyx Studio 4, and then they dropped it. On the Onyx Studio 4, of course, it was JBL's, it was Connect Plus, so it was compatible with Connect Plus speakers from JBL. But then they decided to dump that feature. You know why? Because they want clear differentiation between Harman, I mean, even the word Harman or Harmen who have Bluetooth speakers, I don't know, Harman and JBL. It made no sense, but we do have an app now. But hey, it's very basic. But basically, you can go in and they've got a 7-band app. You know, after how many years, you've now got a 7-band EQ. I might as well open up when I'm talking to you. Obviously, you can do your firmware updates. So you couldn't do. So we never quite know with the other ones where the firmware's aligned. You buy when it first came out or a year later, and I'm saying what it sounds like could sound quite different to other people. It's a problem because we don't know where the firmwares land. By the way, this is a TL version. They do the same thing as JBL, depending on the factory where it's made. It could be different. Can actually be different materials and sound significantly different from other models. It's just I'm testing the TL model. They've got some presets. It's very, very lazy tuning. It's going to make no big difference. But the real feature is you can customize the EQ. But what you can't do is you can't save it like you could do 14 years ago with Soundcore and have multiple EQs to mess around with. You can set one EQ. But what does it sound like? Because that's all that really matters. At the end of the day, some people are saying it's terrible compared to the others. And some people are saying, I even had all my comments, it's so much more powerful than the 5 and the 6. And that's why I just have to tell you my experience, because, you know, if I wasn't doing this, and if I go back to my early days, and I could only go by what people were saying online, it's so far removed from reality that we just need someone who will tell us like it is. So here we are. Sort of moderate low volumes, 40% volume.
love each other. Come on, let's leave the stage behind and let's try again. Through the fire, understood you're strong inside, and now I really care. Oh, oh, lover, we still love each other. Come on, let's leave the stage behind and let's try again.
This clever arrangement of 3 tweeters all on top, almost basically on top of each other. Look, because that's deep in there. So it's like 3 tweeters like that. In the real world, it does not throw the sound wider, but it does give you good off-axis response. So if you're so it's a consistent sound, or the drop-off is very linear. So that's supposed to be a good thing in audio, and of course it is a good thing that you can go quite a lot off-axis. It's consistent sound. But when you're listening to it on axis and you're expecting that to throw sound to the sides, no, it doesn't. It still sounds like the confines of the speaker. In fact, in some ways, it's weird. As you may already have heard, it's actually got a roll-off at the high end. I mean, 3 tweeters and it's actually got a roll-off. It's very, very strange. All these speakers will give you satisfying bass at most volumes. They will give you satisfying bass. You will get decent bass out of any Onyx Studio speaker. The Onyx Studio 9 versus the Onyx Studio 8, it does have deeper bass, but it's all about that 50 hertz. Obviously, it's where I haven't measured it, but I assume that's exactly where the passive is. They've gone balls in, basically. You've got to say at 50 hertz to give you a 50 hertz punch at the expense of some mid bass and some upper bass. So you will get some more fullness out of the Onyx Studio 8, because it's got more in the mid bass and the upper bass, but you won't get the punch, which is what they're going for. But depending on how you hear your bass, you may prefer one over the other. I prefer the 8. And in terms of the highs, 3 tweeters, but it's a rolled off high, 2 tweeters, proper left-right stereo separation. Even when you've got your ear to that, there's no left-right separation. It all sounds like it's coming from there. In fact, it sounds like it's right-sided. Do you know why? Because it's all dominated by what you can see. It's rolled off highs. It means it's all dominated by the mids and the lows that are coming out of the single woofer, and it still sounds right-sided. It's right-sided to the middle if you really listen close. You do not get a sense of left-right separation that you do get. Still not separated mids and highs, mids and lows. But the highs are properly left-right. I had to check to see if it was working. I was expecting left and right separation. Even playing left-right test tracks all sounded like it's coming from just to the right of the centre. And I nearly sent it back. But no, it's all because the tweeters are on top of each other. So a win for the Onyx Studio 8. It's a little bit more V-shaped, which I think works better at these lower to moderate volumes. That's got too much punch for me, but you may love it. The Onyx Studio 6, with its single right-sided tweeter and woofer, at these moderate volumes, doesn't have as much bass as the Onyx Studio 9, but it does have that push time. So all of these 3, the 6, the 5, the 8, push the highs, where strangely, with its three tweeters, it's got a drop-off on the 9. It's really, 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 really strange. And that's a real change from the previous speakers that we've had on the Onyx Studio. But I guess they've done that to make it sound even more bassy. But for me, it don't work. It means it's so completely dominated by the... I mean, they will have a reasonable balance without being perfect, but this is dominated by its 50 hertz punch, which is what they've really gone for in terms of sound. So you're either going to like it or you're not. I personally don't like it. 5 and 6 quite similar, but you do get a bit more bass out of the 5, but you don't get quite the clarity that you're getting with a 6. So all sound reasonable, but all have a different balance. All got a bass boost, as we would imagine, at low volumes. The 8 is going to come out as having the most bass. The 9 has the deepest bass, but it's all about 50 hertz. It's doing the JBL thing of scooping just to make it even sound even more strong at the 50 hertz. And if that's all you're hearing, you'll probably think it's got more bass, but it hasn't. The 8 has. Of these speakers, the 5 has the best mids, and the 6 has the best upper mids. And only that one has the roll-off in the highs. So for me, this is the worst listen. Doesn't make it awful. I mean, it is quite close in reality. But if we're talking about the differences, for me, this is my least favourite. So what about at proper volumes? 66%.
Hey man, can I get a favor? Yeah, sure, I know, see you later. Sometimes I just wanna be a hater. Gotta watch down the top 40s with a chaser. Your voice starts feeling like a waiter. Scraping my mind against the cheese grater. Before you go, sir, you have to sign a waiver. That's alright, I'm aware of the danger. You wanna get away? You better get in line. Won't go another day of wasting any time. I've got a lot to say, can't hold it in this time. Got no filter, I got no filter. 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 Hey man, can I get a favor? Yeah, sure, I know, see you later. Sometimes I just wanna be a hater. Gotta watch down the top 40s with a chaser. Your voice starts feeling like a waiter. Scraping my mind against the cheese grater. Before you go, sir, you have to sign a waiver. That's alright, I'm aware of the danger. You wanna get away? You better get in line. Won't go another day of wasting any time. I've got a lot to say, can't hold it in this time. Got no filter, I got no filter. 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 Hey man, can I get a favor? Yeah, sure, I know, see you later. Sometimes I just wanna be a hater. Gotta watch down the top 40s with a chaser. Your voice starts feeling like a waiter. Scraping my mind against the cheese grater. Before you go, sir, you have to sign a waiver. That's alright, I'm aware of the danger. You wanna get away? You better get in line. Won't go another day of wasting any time. I've got a lot to say, can't hold it in this time. Got no filter, I got no filter. 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 No filter, I got no filter.
Big change for me when you got in the volumes. The Onyx Studio 9 is tuned for lower volumes, in my opinion. By the time you're hitting these louder volumes, it's got the least bass. Now, it didn't look that way on a frequency response measurements. That's why I'm saying, I don't know, a lot of these car companies, when they're testing their exhausts, and they can sense that they're being tested, and they change what they're actually doing, and then they get fined later. I don't know if this is what they're doing with these speakers. They can sense that it's been tested in the frequency response measurement, it does one thing, or if it's just simply the limiters are being more aggressive, or the drivers are just not up to the standards of the past. But I have to say, now at the least louder volumes, I'm getting least bass of all the 4 that I've got here out of the Onyx Studio 9, which is exactly the opposite of what you expect. Ain't bad on its own, would still be a decent listen, but of the 4 on the table, still the worst for me, in my opinion. The 8, which I preferred at lower volumes, no longer, and now it's a bit sterile. Hey, you've got it's the only one with the, sounds like it's got left-right separation, and has a reasonable balance. But hey, the best balance on the table is the Onyx Studio. Let's have a round of applause. It's one of my favourite. I've kept both the 5 and the 6 because they have a nice warm sound. But not only that, the Onyx Studio 6, I know it's not stereo in any way, and I've talked about the problems of mono versus stereo before, but I do prefer, it's got a warm sound, and hey, it's got a decent balance. The only thing you may notice, but a lot of people seem to like, is it's got a little bit of a boosted high. It's not mad. They've all gone for, what is it, around the 8 to 11 kilohertz region
Is where they're pushing the highs.
but not by much. It's like 3 decibels. This is still within acceptable ranges, but you know, it can, if we're talking about best balance, sometimes you can hear it is a little bit sharp, but it's the best for me in overall balance. I do like its warmth, but sometimes I like the clarity that the 6 gives, or sometimes the pure, deep, lovely, warm, bassy sound of the 5, but still has a decent balance. Its weak point is, it's got recessed 4 to 6 kilohertz. It's recessed in the presence region, but has the same high-end boost. The only one that doesn't have the high-end boost, and suffering for it because of its frailty, it's the least accurate as well of the whole lot, is the Onyx Studio 9. Onyx, I've got to say, does not sound bad. If you're buying a speaker today, and hey, you like the idea of getting Auracast and being able to hook up with other JBL speakers, it's happy days. It sounds nice, it sounds fun, but it's not as nice as a listen as previous Onyx Studio speakers. It's got the bigger battery. That alone may be a reason that you'll get the Onyx Studio 9. But hey, probably the Auracast is the biggest seller. And you may like the fact that you've got more off-axis spread, sweet spot that you can listen without having an obvious drop-off in the high end, as I said. But strangely, without it actually throwing the sound to the left and right, it still sounds narrow when you're on axis. They would have been better doing what we've got in the Go Play 3, having them slightly angled out and as far onto the side, far on the sides as they could get it. So, just leaves, what is the art of a headroom? Because as you can see, a lot of it is about how they tune these speakers. We can see now the Onyx Studio 9 is favoured at lower volumes. That's how they've decided to tune it. And they know a lot of people, when they're testing speakers, will simply have them at the same volume. You do that with the Onyx Studio 6, gives an advantage to the Onyx Studio 9, because it's playing a couple of decibels quieter. That's always going to favour the louder speaker, no matter, even a small amount will make it sound a little bit more dynamic. I don't know sometimes if they do this on purpose or not, but hey, that's why we like the real world test, the real world headroom test, maximum volume, and also watch out, they all go louder on a mains lead. Ultimately, in the real world, fully pushing the speaker with bass-heavy tracks, the Onyx Studio 9 has the least bass. Let me say that again. Has the least bass in the real world in terms of absolute headroom, because below that, it's all about how they choose to tune it. Ultimate headroom on battery, Onyx Studio 9 has the weakest bass, has the weakest mids, and what it does have, there's a bit of a push there, upper mids, presence region.
That's where its volume is coming from. The biggest bass peak going to the Onyx Studio 8. But in terms of overall bass, it's the Onyx 5, it's the Onyx 6 that holds up best, because it's not being robbed of the upper bass that the 8 and the 9 have to supposedly keep hold of its deeper bass. But Onyx Studio 9 can't even do that in the real world. In terms of absolute loudest, in terms of LUFS, that's the overall track, the whole track. The loudest is the 6 and the Onyx Studio 8. When you stick the mains lead in, they all go about 3 to 3.5 decibels louder. In terms of the peaks, it's the Onyx Studio 8 due to its 1 kilohertz to 2 kilohertz peak. It's going loudest in terms of peaks, but in terms of max, it's also the loudest. And when you put them on mains power, the Onyx Studio 6 is still just behind the Onyx Studio 8, and it's neck and neck between the Onyx 5 and the Onyx 9 in terms of the max. But in terms of overall LUFS, even on mains, the Onyx Studio 9 is the quietest of the whole lot. So bass is the hardest to drive. It's the most impressive if it holds up at the loudest volumes. And in terms of total bass, it's a win for the Onyx Studio 8, but in joint first is also the Onyx Studio 5, followed by the 6, and near decibel behind is the Onyx Studio 9. In terms of just deeper bass, it's a slight win for the Onyx Studio 5, but there isn't too much between them all. The mid bass is a win for the Onyx Studio 8, followed by the 5, followed by the 6. And again, it's the Onyx Studio 9 that's way behind. So the takeaway is different from a straight frequency response measurement. In the real world, filters going full out, DSP going full out. The least headroom is the Onyx Studio 9, but then again, it does have the most drivers. It's got 3 tweeters, and yet has the weakest high end of all 4 of these speakers.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the loudest of them all? It's got to be the Onyx Studio 9, surely. And here's the problem. They actually had officially more power on the earlier models. Officially, we had 60 watts for the 1, 2, 3, 4. And since then, we've had 50 watts. Although they didn't say RMS earlier. So, but basically, we can say they're sticking with 50 watts. Why? Why not up the power a little bit? You've got a bigger battery now. It goes a lot louder anyway on mains lead. Why is it still only rated at 50 watts? Do you know why? I'm telling you, because they sit around saying, this is the brand. The Onyx Studio is the brand. We're going to milk it as much as possible. We're going to go for the margins on this. People are buying this only basically for the looks, but hey, not only for the looks. It had a lovely warm sound. Of course, you can get deeper bass and stuff out of other speakers, but I like the form factor when we had the handle like that. I don't like the fact that you've got to stick it round the back to hold it like that. I don't like the fact we've got all the controls now on the side in the same color. So I always have to pick up my speaker to do that. I never had to do that before. Onyx Studio 5, easy to see, lovely big tactile buttons on the front. Same, although obscured by the satin ring buttons on the front, lovely raised tactile. And of course the same thing, although not quite easy to see in black, but on the front, exactly where you want them. I just look at the speaker, I turn it on. You cannot do that with a 9. This is why we know they're not thinking, how can we make this better for the people who are actually using the speaker? They're saying, how can we make this better for the people who've got more money than sense, and they just like it to look nice. And of course, if we can make it sound good in the marketing, we'll say it's got constant, what do they call it? Constant sound nonsense or something. It's constant sound field, CSF. They've even abbreviated it to constant sound fudging, or whatever you want to call it. They're fudging what it's really doing. Self-tuning, they're trying to make it, that's actually supposed to be about the tweeters, not the self-tuning actually. And yes, I guess to an extent that works off axis, but it doesn't widen the sound. I mean, listen to how they describe it. Improves room filling dispersion. It does not. It doesn't throw the sound out wide. They say widens the soundstage. Prove it. I say no. It doesn't do that. Demonstrate that it does. It does not do that. It improves off-axis linear drop-off, however you want to describe that, but it doesn't throw the sound to the side, and it does. In fact, there isn't much of a sound stage at all. It sounds very narrow. Left and right still sound like it's coming just to the right of the center, unlike the Onyx Studio 8. So it's just and I'll tell you why we know a lot of this is nonsense. Is they have. On every Onyx Studio speaker has been described as music playtime up to 8 hours dependent on volume level and audio content. So although the power hasn't changed, the batteries have changed, and it's a big upgrade now from 11.7 to, what is it, 17 watt hours approximately. How can it still be the same playtime anyway? Hey, we should be grateful they're not claiming 24 hours. But dependent on volume level and audio content, of course, means it's so they should have a strict way they measure a music playtime, and that should be consistent across all their speakers, and they should tell us, you know, most often that 50%. Even that doesn't mean anything because these speakers do not have linear volume steps, so 50% isn't really something that transfers. But as you can see, this compresses 60% and up above. You don't get that much more volume. So even though it's meaningless, at least say it is, demonstrate that you've tested it. You haven't. You're treating us like imbecile. I got to say it. They are. This doesn't sound bad, and I do like the Onyx Studio series, but they are treating us like imbeciles. And this, how they put the controls, is diabolical, given how it was lovely on the front, and that was a nice design feature. So volumes, we talked about the absolute headroom. The headroom isn't there. It doesn't go as loud as the other one. Whether it's on, they all go noticeably louder on mains by about 3 decibels, which is considerable. A lot of people I hear say, well, you get more bass. You don't get more bass. It's going louder, so it sounds like more bass. But in terms of relative bass relative to the mids and the highs, you don't get any more bass. But it does go considerably louder. Again, showing us that this is an indoor speaker meant to be left on a mains lead for most people. But it's not. It's the quietest. It's quiet. The only measurement by which it's not the quietest is peak on battery. Because yeah, I don't think did I measure? Yeah, I did measure on peak on mains, but I haven't written it down here. So peak, but that's very easy to fudge because you can have, and which I think is what it does. It does boost the upper mids. Strangely, boosts the upper mids into presence region, but then rolls off the highs. It's really, really strange for a 3-tweeter speaker. But yeah, so max is a better. I have been testing peak, but I'm thinking I'll have to do peak and max because I mean this highlighted to me why peak is not the best measure. It's a good measure for how it's going to damage your ears. You know, in the workplace that's a good measurement, but on how loud 2 speakers go comparative to each other, I guess it's not. Max is a better way to measure it. And on battery or on mains, it's the quietest. Not by much in it. I'm just saying it's gone nowhere, despite what they're claiming. And it doesn't have the most bass, and it has the most drop off. So who had the most bass? I think it was the 8 and the 5, as I was saying, the warmest one. Tying, but this is the one that sounds warmer, and that sounds warm but with a little bit more clarity. So that's why I think, you know, I've kept these speakers. They offer something different, whereas I don't need this one anymore. It's not better in any way than the other speakers, other than if I'm listening on a side, but I don't really listen much on a side, so it's not a big deal. I'd rather enjoy it on axis, the best it can be. So what else did we tell you about the specs? In terms of the specs, well, at the moment it's not badly priced. 180 quid, $230. That's good value. I'm not arguing about that. I'm just saying it's not an improvement, other than Auracast. Probably that was the only reason why they brought it out. But hey, they do keep bringing it. Iteration 9. They do keep bringing this out. As I said, I think this is their playtime speaker. They enjoy designing different features, but they're not really thinking about us. They're not actually talking to real world users. That is clear to me. 180 quid, $230 is good value. It is an upgrade in the battery, and hey, it's easy to replace as well. I can't unscrew the bottom. The battery is right there. Bluetooth 4.2, but it doesn't make much difference to, as far as I can see. You know, the old Bluetooth speakers, Bluetooth 4 Plus, still doing a job. 4.2, 4.2, 5.2, but it's now Bluetooth 5.3. But 5 and 6 will only do party mode. 8 will do stereo, but 8 has the auto-tuning, self-tuning. We've now still got self-tuning, but now we've got the Auracast, which is probably the biggest feature. They've all got an auxiliary input, just shows how old-fashioned they are. Only the Onyx Studio 8 can be used for phone calls. They just cannot make their minds up. We've got USB-C. It's the only one now with USB-C, but hey, you cannot charge it. You can use it, by the way, as a power bank. I mean, that was a new feature. You can use it as a power bank, but you get about 7 watts out. It actually supports 1.5 amps. So I know their specs say 5 volts, 2 amps, but I can't get that. In fact, the most I've got out of this is 5 watts, but it does seem to support 5 watts, 1.5 amps. You should be able to get 7 watts out of it. So hey, you can do that. You can use it as a power bank, and it's the only one of the series where you could do that. But the USB-C, you can play MP3 tunes straight off a dongle on the USB-C, but only MP3s, and you can only do that in America. Licensing, I guess, being what it is. May or may not be a good feature for you, but you've got the auxiliary input. But hey, still power lead. I have to say, it's a very high quality power lead. It's a very bendy, stretchy one. I do like the power lead. And the previous ones, they've all got a power lead, but they had a brick with it as well. But this is a straight power lead. So yeah, that's an improvement as well. All still rated at 50 watts, which is extraordinary. I'm not sure what this charges at. I'll have to wait till it goes flat so I can see what it puts in as a charge. I haven't done that yet, but the previous ones are all 38 watts. They say, so all the previous ones they say took 5 hours to fully charge. They say 4 hours for this one, so I assume it's up to, could it be up to 60 watts? I don't know. So I assume you can charge it faster now anyway, because if it's 4 hours and a bigger battery, you must be able to. In terms of weights, it's gone down since the 8. So it's now 3.3 kilos. It was, the 8 was 3.5 kilos, and it's basically 3 kilos, but all similar, 3 kilos for the 5 and the 6. Only the Studio 6, this is a chopping and change. I'm just saying, they cannot make up minds what feature they want to give you. Only the 6 was IPX7 rated, and it floated with the drivers up. How lovely. But then they decided, no, we don't want to do that. It's costing us too much money licensing IP rating, I guess. That's why. We are the ones that are getting milked. This is the line. Go Play 3, great value, great sound. This is the one where a lot of it doesn't make sense at all, and not at all. The controls far worse than it was before. Tweeters makes no sense to me, other than it's better off access. It was better just having the two properly separated on the Studio 8. Crazy people. They've all got 120mm woofer, 2 passive, 1 front, 1 rear. Or is it 1 tweeter, 1 tweeter? By the way, there were 25mm tweeters, and it's smaller tweeters, 20mm tweeters, 20mm tweeters. And 3 of them, 3 20mm tweeters, which are going to suck up a little bit more power. So again, a little bit less power going for that bass. Lip sync, they're all pretty usable. The Studio 8, which has the most noticeable lip sync, but still usable. The other 3, pretty good. 4 had an app, and only the 9 since then is the other one to have an app. You can now got 7 bands, and yes, as we already said, you can't save EQs, but you can mess with the custom. The presets are just pathetic. It goes louder and energetic, and they drop the volume on it. We could all do that. What a job that must be. Tuning the presets for Harman. Talking about, money for nothing. It's, I think that's where we need to be applying for a job. This is the company that famous for the Harman curve, that put all the money into that research. Yes, we can debate how accurate it is or not. However, they did do the research. And out of those research, they decided, well, if energetic just means going louder and chill just means going quieter, you cannot make this stuff up. What else have we got to talk about? They said it's got superior sound. We talked about that, which it hasn't. It's not got superior sound now. It's got worse sound than it had before. Although some of you clearly disagree. I mean, maybe you've got 2 very different models, complete mismatch in the models. Mine's TL that I'm listening to. Yeah, so don't forget, left, right, but that's going to be mixed down to mono. That's why it's such a mess in the real world, these 3 tweeters. X600 mode comes to mind, but again, a lot of people, they just don't have the ears for it. They say it's got the substantial integrated handle. I mean, it's a crevice. I know that people are paid to write this again. This is the other job we'd like. Let's do the marketing, because you can say whatever you want. This little thing is described as substantial. Well, what's that then? That's going to be like a chasm. Built-in USB port recharges other devices. Right, making it a feature. First of all, it hasn't got fast charging, so it's just basic 1.5 amp. But I found it quite unstable, so it wouldn't charge my S25 anyway. I could charge some things, and then it would go on and off. So completely unstable, not a great feature. Why did they bother? I've got something else. Final thoughts, Al. Final thoughts, because it's just not long enough. That's right. Just not long enough. Final thoughts. It doesn't have the headroom. All the 3 other speakers, but it's tuned to sound. I guess they think most people will listen at lower volumes, so they've tuned it to have more bass at lower volumes. They've used up more of their headroom at lower volumes. So in the ABs, it sounds like it was, oh, that's a big improvement. But when you actually test the actual real-world headroom, no, it's got less headroom. Even, as I said, frequency response measurement didn't show that. So you've got to ask yourself what's going on. That's why, for me, real-world listening, bass-boosted tracks are the real way to test these speakers. These type of speakers. JZ Yagi didn't seem to understand the difference between speakers with DSP and speakers without DSP. I'm saying nothing because I'm only a little channel, and all these other people that are proven to have. I've got videos about JZ Yagi, and yes, he's the one that I still cannot get past because I know. Why say it in this video? Well, I don't. But you can look up my past videos on JZ Yagi. Why I get a bit annoyed sometimes when people are not questioning what he says and question what I say because only I know the truth of what really happened. Anyway. It's all good. It's all good. Oh, yeah, stop negativity. Yes, it's all good. It's all good. Everything is going my way. Everything is blinking bloody beautiful. And for everybody who said, stop doing the piston, I do what I bloody want. I do what I want. Do you know what? Because otherwise, why am I here? Have you noticed I've not done monetize this outside of some made affiliate links? I lose loads of money. I'm doing it for the hell of it. I'm doing it because there's so many. It is so many. It's just depressing. Shills get promoted in the algorithm. It's as simple as that. YouTube are destroying themselves, but hey, it makes them advertise. People want a 2-minute video saying this is really good. They want to be reinforced. They want to just reinforce the reason they're thinking of buying something. It could be speakers. It could be absolutely anything. People do not like long videos explaining why it may not be something they want to get, and they don't like it.
You see, they don't like it happen, so they do not like it happen.
So. It's just that is. Sometimes it just winds you up, and sometimes you just got to say, hey, if 2.5 people get something out of my videos, job done. But hey, look, you do want to get some recognition. I don't know. Look at me. I'm going for another therapy session. We're just good friends on this channel. Most of us. I still get a few that come in and knock me. That's fine. They don't know what they're talking about. That's fine. It's all good. I'll probably have to cut this out at the end because it's getting a bit weird. I hope to see you in another video. Please.
What the f was that?
It comes from China.
My speaker's got deep bass, balanced mids, and a bright high.
Yes, mine sounds exactly the same.